Hi, my name is Kaitlyn Way, and my app is called Ecochic. It's an AI-driven digital closet app for promoting sustainable fashion and clothing donation. So first, I just wanted to define fast fashion. So that's inexpensive clothing produced rapidly by mass market retailers in response to the latest trends. And fast fashion has many problems that come with it. I'll cover that in the next slide. But I also wanted to share a quick statistic first, and that's every year 85% of textiles end up in landfills. So textiles is materials that clothing are made out of, and this means that they're rarely reused or recycled. So many donation centers are not receiving as many clothes as they could. And furthermore, millions of people around the world still lack basic necessities like clothing, so a simple act like donating unnecessary clothes can make a big impact on these people. So here's the problem. Fast fashion is actually not good for the environment because it creates massive waste generation, and that's why it's 10% of the global carbon emissions. And also, low quality garments tend to lead to shorter lifespan because trends don't last that long and also the quality is not good. So recently, like overconsumption and textile waste have been at an ultimate high, and there's also still a lot of clothing scarcity among people that cannot afford them. So that is the problem. So basically, the fashion industry is kind of a combination. There's pollution and also inequality involved. I have a graph here to show that since 90, there's been a lot more consumption per clothing. It says there's also the average person buys 60% more clothing than in 2000, but keeps items half as long. That just shows that we're becoming less and less sustainable in our clothing purchasing habits. And sustainability is not just environmental, it's social because people are involved as well, and it is a controllable thing. So on a local level, I've noticed that people in my community like to follow trends. Like I also like to follow trends. And but this leads to closets being filled with things that people don't wear because they're so quick to buy things, they don't really consider um the problems of over consuming. And there's also just a lack of awareness regarding like donation centers and like where to go in general regarding this. So that's why my solution is EcoChic. So there's three main features in my app. There's the digital closet with an eco rating to rate the pieces of clothing that people have. There's also StyleMate AI, and there's a donation map. So these three features together will promote sustainable fashion habits and also empower people to physically act on sustainability by showing them if their closet is sustainable or not and what they can do to help that. And this is large scale because it can be used by individuals from all around. So the three main technologies used, I used Firebase is a database to store the user information and also the closet information, and then I used two APIs. I used ChatGPT API, which allowed me to interact with OpenAI itself, and Google Places API allowed me to find locations of donation centers nearby, wherever people's location are. So just a quick show of the process here. It'll first take you through the authentication and then connect that to database. And then it takes you to the home page where people can update their profile. And then the three functions I said earlier, they're here. And this is where the donations use the maps and the StyleMate uses the ChatGPT API. And these are all connected to the database. So this is just a quick show of the digital closet. So the homepage here, you can see it's once you click here, it'll take you to an empty closet. This is basically like a digital simulation of your physical closet, and people can add their clothing from their physical closet one piece at a time here using this function. So eventually this will become a list full, and this allows people to physically see every piece of clothing they have and allow them to realize if they have pieces of clothing that they haven't worn before and that could be donated. And it's also just a good way to organize their closet digitally. So once you add a lot of pieces of clothing to your closet, it'll look something more like this. And you can scroll on this. So the eco rating feature, it's right here. Once you click this, it'll take you to this page. This is important because it rates the sustainability out of 100 and also rates it in these three categories. whether it's bad, moderate, good, or excellent. And it also gives eco-friendly tips on how to like preserve the clothing for as long as possible. The tips are going to be different for each piece of clothing, of course, depending on what it's made out of. But this feature uses image input processing because these ratings and the tips are generated from the image and description that were given. So that's also feature extraction. And this uses an AI API call to do so. So in summary, these just provide ratings regarding eco-friendliness in general and allows care tips to specific types of clothing. The next feature I said was StyleMate AI. So this is kind of like a personal fashion assistant that people can ask questions to, general or specific. So some example, I just said, what should I wear today? This is a pretty vague question, so it gave me a good answer. It could be more specific if I asked a more specific question, but it gave me some tips on what I should wear today. So this uses natural language processing and it's also an AI API call. And these answers will be eco-conscious. The next feature is the donation map. So this uses a geolocation and mapping API, and basically if the user allows the app to access their location, it'll show a list of nearby donation centers, and also they'll be able to see it on a map itself, and they can click on any of these and they can see how far they are as well. They can find the closest one, it'll take them to the location, and it also provides them the address. So this is convenient because many people don't really know what to do with um, excess clothing that could be donated, and this allows them to see like every possible place that's near them. So if there's somewhere nearby, it does not hurt to go and just drop off a piece of clothing. So this is a quick full demo of how my app works. So first, they're taken through the sign up. I just used a testing account. I'm just signing in, and then the profile page. I only entered my name just to be quick. So the closet, it works like this. You can just insert an image and then fill out all of this info. And this is the eco rating. It does depend on the piece of clothing. Some of them receive higher ratings than others. I just did one more example to show the difference. So see, notice how this has a lower rating than the jeans. I added a little bit more of context in this question. I said also the weather. So it gave me a little bit more of a specific answer. And then not only does it tell you like what you can wear, it also gives you advice on what you should buy or like where you can buy from. So this is the response it gave me to that question, and it also says they can suggest some specific brands if I let them know if I have any like preference regarding that. So the donation maps works like this basically. Once you click on these, it'll take you to the spots. So these locations are all relatively near me, so it'd be overall convenient for me to donate, and the users will feel the same way. So that is a live demo of my app. The technologies used to create this, I first used Flutterflow, which was a drag and drop interface. It was kind of like this. And then I've recently transitioned to Flutter, which is more code-based and allowed me to really fix the bugs and get the app fully working. So my experiment I tested on StyleMate. I was trying to see if it was the responses they were giving were pretty accurate. And while these are open-ended, I just wanted to compare it to something else. So I compared it with another AI, and I called the other AI the expected output, and my current AI, the style made the actual output. So I gave them 20 prompts, like these pretty basic questions, and I just saw how accurate and similar the responses are. And this will measure reliability and usefulness. So these are my results. So I found that 50% are perfect matches and the other are strong to moderate. So there's no right to wrong answer, but I sent both responses to ChatGPT and I asked them to rate on similarity and performance. And overall they were nearly identical. and fact style gave me a lot more detailed responses that you can tell here. So some related works